Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
The Chloe Sanctuary hopes to give you insight into the health and happiness of your companion parrots. We hope to help you build happy homes using reliable and proven tools. The best homes are built on a rock-solid foundation. And the best foundation for a happy home is the bedrock of science. When we stand on the shoulders of giants, the scientists who have worked long and diligently to understand our companions, we can reach new heights of understanding. And understanding is the key to success.
I think treated, most of these birds have a good prognosis, and I would say in...
What does avian veterinary medicine have to tell us about our feathered friends? How can the tools of behavior shaping make our homes happier for us and our companions?
Shake.
How can we deal with biting, screaming, or other misbehavior? What is it like to live among parrots? Let them roam around about you and share a life with them. Of the Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.
Hi, and welcome to Cockatude, Cockatoos with Attitude, episode 112. That's right, isn't it? Yeah, the lazy man's guide to training. I know that we've done quite a few videos on training, and some people are just scared off by the immensity of the apparent information that needs to be absorbed. I'm just preening this one. She's got a few little feathers here. So we're going to do the lazy man's guide, okay? We're going to cover the basics. So this is going to be an overview, and really it just is what we do, okay? First thing we do is we observe. You get out of the habit of just saying, oh, my bird is upset, my bird is mad, or whatever, and actually just observe the behavior. Now, it's easier if you know species-specific behavior, because if you see the feathers on the back of the neck go up, you should know that's an aggressive, usually a territorial aggression. And when you see that lets you know something. But if you don't know that to start, and you don't mind getting bitten here and there, then you'll learn it in time. You'll eventually pick it up. You'll see, oh, the feathers on the back of the neck were up. Especially if you've been recording this. If you record it on video, all right, if you record what you do on video, you're going to learn a lot, all right, even if you don't study the books. I think you should, but some people just need the lazy man's guide. So if you want the fast track and you're not worried about getting a few scars, as they say in Fight Club, you don't want to die without any scars, right? So you want a fast track, you just go ahead and start working. So first thing to do is observe. Now one thing, it's important to overcome your fear, because if you're afraid that you're going to get bit, then it's hard to do anything when you're afraid. If you remember the litany of fear, I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me, and when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. When the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. That's from Dune by Frank Herbert. If you haven't read it, get a copy, read it. It's a great book. But that litany of fear is something you should know, because if you're afraid of that beak, you're not going to get much done. All right? The more you know, the easier it is to deal with that. This little one is a sweet girl, but she gets pains in her neck because she has fused vertebrae there, and she will occasionally bite, and they are not gentle bites. And remember that they are birds, not mammals. There's tons of difference between them and us. I could list all the differences, but just remember, they're not mammals. They will respond to proper training techniques, though. So the first thing you need to do is come bearing gifts. All right? If you take Dr. Zelig's course, you'll learn this. It'll be one of the key things that'll make your life different. You've got a bird that doesn't want to come out of the cage and it's always biting at you, lunging, that kind of thing, the way Marley used to with me. Just coming bearing gifts, I found out. I laid out different kinds of food and I found out he likes edamame. So I always have edamame for him once in a while walking by his cage. I don't care what he's doing, I just give him one. At other times I look at him and I use the calm awareness technique from Dr. Zelig's, which is at first you just do it for a second. You just get them to look at you and then you say good or whatever you're using as your reinforcer. Don't use a clicker. If you ever get an African gray, you'll be sorry you're using a clicker. You say good and give them a treat. I have two that I use. One is good and the other one is good. When I say good, that's an intermediate reinforcer. It's like you're on the right path. You're eventually going to get rewarded. When I say good, that means the reward's coming now. Okay? So, in one case, you're just walking on by and giving them something, or walking up to the cage and giving them something. That's come bearing gifts. And if your friends came to your door all the time with gifts, you probably would like your friends more. Right, Peaches? What do you think, Peach? Oh, Peaches says that's probably true. You like gifts, Peach? You do? Okay. Whenever you're around your bird, it's a training situation. Whenever they can see you, it's a training situation. They're looking at you, they're going to learn from your movements, all right? So the question is, when are you training? You're training whenever the bird can see you. Never break trust, okay? So, for example, if you're offering something and it's out there and you're not getting exactly what you want, but you already have that out there, you're not going to be able to pull that back. All right? Once you start offering, you got to give it. You don't want to break trust. These guys, when you break trust, oh boy, do they know it. And they'll hold it against you. Because in their world, they don't break that kind of trust. To put it metaphorically, you're building good karma with your bird. All right? If you do anything to upset them, you're going to have to work through that. And just don't do it. Just don't do anything like that. So if you think you might freak out with a bite, you probably shouldn't be training birds, but at least have something where you can sit them down quickly and get away and talk nicely to them. Because if you start being negative, that's karma you're not going to work out. Coming and bearing gifts when you walk by, you're adding to the good karma, okay? Whenever you do anything bad, it's like multiples of bad karma. You didn't just do one thing, you did 1,000 negatives, all right? Start small and work up to the big things, okay? A lot of people, when they try to get a bird to step up, are going to try to get them to do the whole step up in one thing. All you really want them to do is raise their foot just a little bit. Just move their foot some. You know, Peach, you want to step up? You want to step up? Good girl. She brought her foot up. She just stepped up. But in the beginning, she didn't work that way. To get her to step up, I actually would just get her foot to move a little bit. And as soon as it moved a little bit, I would reward her. Which with her is just like, Peaches, that's a good Peaches. It's a good Peaches. She's not so much into food rewards. She likes to be petted, don't you, baby? Hello. And when you're doing something, break it down into the smallest number of steps you can. You want them to step up, you know, get the foot to move just a little bit, and then reward it. And then just keep working on that. Now, once they're good at it, and you try to get them to go... Beautiful song, Peaches. Beautiful song. Once they can do that, I mean, they're moving their foot just a little bit. If you can't get them to move on, then you got to stop rewarding them. Okay? Now, when you do that, they're going to go into a whole bunch of strange behaviors. Just like you would if you went to a Coke machine, you put the money in, it doesn't work, you start kicking the machine, beating on it with your hands. That's what they're going to do. They're going to eventually they're going to move that foot up higher. And when they do, reward it immediately. Now remember that you have to reward at the exact moment something happens. If you're going to reward them at a different time, like somebody who has them step up, and once they're in your hand or on the perch, you give them the treat. You're rewarding them for sitting there. They're not psychic. They don't know what you want. If you're rewarding them when they're sitting on the perch, you are rewarding them for sitting on the perch. Now, if they get confused when you're training them, they just kind of lose it, two things you can do. One is you can step back, which is what I will generally do, step back and go to an earlier thing they were doing just fine. If she could raise her foot just a little bit, and that's what your last best was, go back to that. If she's still having a problem, have her do a behavior she knows. Most of these birds know step up, so that's what I'll have them do, and I'll have them do like step up, step up, step up, step up, and reward them. And then I'll end the session on a positive note. Always end it on a positive note, unless you want to put into that negative karma thing, because they're not going to be happy the next time you do it if you end it on a bad note. Reward wanted behavior consistently. All right? Don't reward it one time and not another. Later on down the line, you can do a little bit of that, but when you're first training a behavior, you want to reward it every time. And when they get it right, if they just jump to the behavior you want, flood them with a whole bunch of treats. Let them know. And then repeat it if you can a couple of times. You don't always have to put the cue in, all right? The cue being the word that you use to indicate to do something, or the behavior, like this means step up, okay? That means step up, putting my hand like that. All the birds will step up based on that. They'll usually step up on the words step up as well, okay? But you can add the cues later. So if you're training a behavior, you can add that later. Get the behavior and then add the cue to it. There's two kinds of training, basically. You're training a new behavior, or you're training away a behavior. So if you're training away a behavior, you're going to replace an unwanted behavior with a wanted behavior. That's what you're going to do. You're going to replace it. If they're eating your curtains, you're going to have them eat wood. If they're biting, you're going to have them bite on a piece of wood. You're going to replace that behavior, okay? If they tend to nip at you when they come out of the cage, you're going to replace that behavior with something else. If the surroundings seem to be causing a problem, change it. Sometimes you don't even know. Just try doing it in a different place if it isn't working. You can also change the time of day. Some birds will be easier to train later in the day, some birds earlier in the day. You're going to find that you develop a language of trust with your birds, and each bird will have a different language because these guys were raised by humans. They're missing some steps in their development. They're not, they're functionally autistic, so you'll develop your own special language. Peach and I have a special language to communicate, don't we, Peach? Don't we, Peach? So don't expect the same language from one bird to the next. Their behavioral specifics will be similar, like the feathers on the back of the neck, or the crest coming up when they're excited, or when they're being calm, the feathers around their beak will come up around. There are certain things that will be species specific, and you should learn those if you can. If you don't learn them through books and studying, then you're going to learn them the hard way. And remember, we don't want to die without any scars. The three basic techniques, there's more, but the three basics are an incompatible behavior. So if you have a bird that's biting, but it likes almonds, and you give it an almond and then pick it up, if it likes the almonds a lot, it's not going to drop the almond to bite you. Some of that is your own ability to observe, though. And then you can reinforce another behavior. If you've got a bird that screams, you can ignore that behavior. There's a key to this, though, and then reward any other sound they make that you like. So if you've got a bird that says "I love you," like Peaches does, you reward it, run over and, in her case, pet her, but in other cases, give them a treat whenever they do that, and then ignore the other sound. Do not just ignore a behavior and think that's going to get rid of it. That's not going to work. You need to give another behavior to them that'll fill in the blank, okay? If I take away your chocolate, I'll give you some other kind of candy, all right? And then there's zone rates, and that simply means that while a bird is doing something in a certain zone, okay, like she's sitting calmly and she's not making a sound, if that's what you want her to sit calmly on your hand like she is here, then every minute you give her a little tiny treat. I mean a small piece of something she likes, or a little pet, and say, good girl. Let her know that she's doing the right thing. Do it on a regular schedule. And you set it as once every minute, and then later on you can make it once every minute and 5 seconds, and then once every minute and 10 seconds, and then once every 2 minutes. And we call that zone rates, because when they're in the zone, you're going to give them something at a specific rate. That's like calm awareness when you're teaching that. You do it for 1 second, And then you go to 2 seconds. And then you go to 3 seconds. Then you go to 4 seconds. I've got Marley up to a minute. He'll sit there for a minute and wait for me to give him an edamame and look at me the entire time. Now, as a last note, you've got something, you've trained away a screaming, you've trained away biting, things come back. Okay? They're habits. They're in there. They're going to come back. Rinse, repeat, and start over again. Wash, rinse, repeat. Do it again. And this time it'll go quicker. And maybe you'll have to do something a little different, but usually it's just the same thing. So, just a summary: you're going to observe, you're going to build trust, okay? You're going to replace behavior you don't want with behavior you do want. You're going to take small steps. You're not going to teach them to do a long, complicated behavior all at once. You're going to break it down into tiny steps. You're going to lose your fear of being bitten if you're going to do this right. If you aren't going to study, you're going to film, if you can, what's going on and watch the behavior and start learning from it. Oh, I see this, I see that. So when you're training a behavior, you're going to do baby steps. And if they're starting to have problems, you're going to go back. And if they're still having problems, you're going to either change, you're going to finish it up by doing something they can do and rewarding them for that, and starting over, maybe next time in a different place or at a different time. You're going to, using an incompatible thing, putting something in their beak so they can't bite is a good example. All right. You're going to pick another behavior. If they're chewing the curtains, you're going to have them chew wood. And you're going to also reward them for being in a zone of behavior. While they're behaving the way you want them to behave, doing acceptable behavior during this period, whatever it is, a minute or 30 seconds or whatever, then you're going to give them a tiny little treat or whatever it is. In her case, it's a pet. So that's the basic thrust of it. I hope that helps. The Lazy Man's Guide to Training. We'll see you next time. It is ignorance of Bob's nature that turned Babaloo into a living gargoyle. Bob's would-be parents made a hasty choice and found themselves in living hell, torn between guilt and frustration. I have seen the joy in Babaloo's eyes now that he has a new life with me as his companion. To see Babaloo love and trust again is worth the effort of a lifetime. But, once again, Bob is heading toward the pain of separation. My heart nearly broke the day I discovered that he was heading toward a cloacal prolapse, that his life will be cut short. To find love and acceptance and then have it stolen away from you by failing health is too much to bear. We can slow the progress of his failing health, but we can't stop it. He will need several surgeries, and eventually Babaloo will die. We want to give him the best possible life until that day. His surgeries will become progressively more expensive over time. Won't you please lend Babaloo a hand and donate to his medical fund today? Our donation button is on our webpage at www.chloesanctuary.org. Just be sure to say, "For Bob," in the notes when you donate. We welcome your feedback on our videos. We look forward to your insights, tips, questions, stories, and pictures. You can email us at cockatude@chloesanctuary.org, reach us on Twitter @ChloeSanctuary, and join with us on our Facebook Chloe Sanctuary page.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.